Right, I'd like to welcome you all to Abyasa for 2016-17. This video is to help mentors, PCMs and trainees do everything they need to do on Abyasa. So, if you're a mentor, you need to log on to the system. You should have a username and password. If you're the trainee, you have the same thing, and it will bring you into this first page of Abyasa. So, if you have a look, it's got placement details here. We've got the current weekly focus. So if you haven't got something that you think your trainee needs to focus on in particular, you can use the suggestions here. And currently there are no school-based tasks. So in order to add things to Abyasa, you click on the add button here and it will bring up an add item with a list. Now you can see the first selection is the mentor templates, and these are ones that the mentor can fill in. So we also have down here scheduled mentor templates and unscheduled mentor templates. The scheduled ones are the ones that only are filled in once. So for example, during the foundation course, you fill in the foundation interim assessment partway through the term and you fill in the foundation profile at the end. They will then disappear from the list. And if you're then a mentor in the developmental stage, then you will fill in the developmental profile and the developmental interim assessment. Now these are ones that the mentor should be filling in, but they will be given lots of information by the trainee to help them fill it in. One of the first things that needs doing in the foundation phase is the three-way agreement. This is an agreement that is between the mentor, the school, the trainee and the university, and it says what we will all do. And all you need to do is click on the button and then come down to the Add tab. You need to select the placement that the trainee is in which in this case it's Ashland School, but for next term there will be two choices, so you do need to make sure you select the correct one. You press save and continue and it will take you into the form. Now all you need to do is to download the document that is the three-way agreement, have a read, and then the subject tutor ticks one box, the school mentor ticks one box, and the Roehampton trainee ticks one box as well. And then you would click the submit button and we can take that you have read the three-way agreement and have signed it to say that you've done it. Okay. So what will happen once you start adding things to the list is you'll find that this page gives you a timeline of everything that has been added. So if we go back to the add button and we say that we are going to now look at the unscheduled mentor templates, you have a lesson feedback record which can be filled in with details of any lessons that you observe. If you would rather use paperwork to do that, then you can go on to the external partner site and download the paperwork. The personal tutor meeting is actually for Roehampton subject tutors, as is the school visit meeting record, which we will fill out as and when we come out and observe the trainee. The support and improvement plan is the new process by which we implement additional support for the trainee so that they can make improvements. The unscheduled mentor templates can be filled in at any point, which is why they stay here. They will not disappear as you fill them in. So if you want to fill in a lesson feedback record, click on it again, click the add button, choose the placement, save and continue. And then the online form is exactly the same as the paper form, and you can fill it in all the way down, making sure you give teacher standards, the summary of the pupil progress, any strengths that the trainee is showing, and agreed targets and actions to go forward. And you can attach things here if you so wish. If you wanted to take a picture of a child's work, for example, or you wanted to attach the lesson plan to it, you click the submit button and it will save the record. Then you can go back out of it and it will take you here. You can see now that the lesson feedback record has been attached. Now, if you did want to attach something to that, if you click on aspect heading, it will take you to a list of the items that have been added to this trainee. What you can do if you want to add something to it is come over here to the actions box, click down on the down arrow, and then you can do an upload file. And it will allow you to either export what you have already written so that you can keep a paper copy if you so wish, or it will allow you to upload files. So if a trainee is doing something and they need to upload a file, this is exactly the same way that they would do it. If we go back to the home page and we go back to add, and we go down to the where it says mentor templates, we also have one that says trainee templates. Now, mentors do have access to these, so it's quite good if you can have a look and check that your trainee is doing them. So for a trainee, they have some scheduled trainee templates and they have some unscheduled. As with the mentor ones, the scheduled trainee ones only need completing once. So they should have completed a foundation initial needs, and they should have done a professional task foundation. So for the foundation initial needs, this is a meeting that takes place between the mentor and the trainee in one of your mentor meetings. Again, attach the school, save and continue. And this is something that the trainee fills in so that you understand what their initial needs might be. So it might be that they need training on Sims. It might be that you need to teach them something within your subject that they may need a little bit of subject knowledge input. It may be that they're not sure how to use a Mac machine if you have Macs in the school, for example. So this one would be filled out and then would be submitted. And if we go out, back to the main screen, we can then look at the next one. Okay, so back at the main screen, you can see now that the foundation initial needs has been carried out. So we click back on add, we can go back to the trainee templates, and all the trainees, they have to do this in the foundation placement. They also have to do this in the developmental placement. So the professional task, they click on add, click on the school and save and continue. Then there is some very important information on this one that they need to fill out. Most of it is to do with orienteering themselves with the school, the processes and procedures, but there is a very important task which they need to do, which is to give the name of the person here that's in charge of safeguarding for the school. So mentors, please can you make sure that that's done. Trainees, you need to make sure that you give that information for both foundation and for developmental. And then this is where your timetable would be attached when you're uploading it. So if we submit that form and we go back to the main screen, what we would need to do is go to the aspect heading. We would go to the professional task foundation, we would go along to the actions box, and we would upload the trainee timetable. So any of the records that are on Abyasa can have attachments. So if we go back to the main screen and we go on to add, and we go back to the trainee templates, we can see now that these have the ones that we've already completed that are on the timeline have now disappeared. The unscheduled ones is the weekly training record. Now this is really important that this is used on a weekly basis, and it's used, the trainee fills it in and the mentor has some input into it too. So we click on add, again select the school, click on save and continue, and the trainee needs to complete it with a review of the week and a review of the targets that were set last week. So have they made progress in that? What have they learnt? What have they learnt as well from observing lessons? And it could be that you have asked them to observe someone who's very strong in behaviour management, for example, and they could put in there what strategies they've learnt about behaviour management. It goes down, general comments, targets, so the trainee needs to complete this with the targets that they've discussed with you. How they are going to achieve this is very important, so it doesn't need to just say, I need to work on my behaviour management. It needs to say how you are going to work on your behaviour management. So that needs to have a really good list of things to get on with for the week, and the mentor comments. So this can be anything over and above what's been discussed in the meeting. It might be things to do with a parents' evening, it might be to do with department meetings, it might be for you to say that there's been lots of progress made in a certain area. Now each of the things that are going to be completed during the week, so for targets and for progress, we need to make sure that there are teaching standards assigned to it. So it's only teaching standard 1 through to 8, but each thing that is a piece of progress or a target must have a teaching standard attached to it. In the same way, you would submit and the form will be submitted. Now, when you have submitted the form, you can see here that the completion phase is in prep. You have actually got prep, review and complete. Please don't put anything into complete unless you are absolutely sure that nothing else needs to be added to that, because once it's been uploaded to the background of Abyasa, it's very difficult to then be able to change it. So we go back out of that and onto the main screen, and you can see that we have a range of different things showing up on the timeline. So each week we should have a weekly training record. We could have a lesson feedback record if mentors are going to do it online. If you want to do it on paper, that is absolutely fine. You need to go onto the partner site to download it, and then that can be uploaded as an attachment to the weekly training record in the same way as shown by going into the aspect heading and going to action and uploading. Now you can see here that we've got the placement details of the school, we've got the weekly focus, so if you haven't got something specific that you want the student to work on, then you can use those. One thing that you may find interesting is that the document tab there has the trainee timetable, so when the trainee has to complete that, this is where they go to get that. The three-way agreement that you need to read and then fill in to say that you have read it. The profile summary sheet, which needs to be downloaded. It's the only piece of paper that really has to be downloaded because it needs signing. And if I pop into it, if you download it, it comes up and it has the foundation, profile, summary. So you've got the interim information that can be transposed onto that. You've got the final grades that can go on there at the end of the autumn term. Again, if you're filling it in for the developmental, then you would fill in those sheets. If you are doing the consolidation, then you would fill in those columns. Part 2 is about personal and professional conduct, and that is a yes, no. So has the student shown enough evidence to say that they have had the right personal and professional conduct? You also need to put in there the days absent for each placement and any optional comments that you may like to put in there as well. And then this one piece of paper needs to be signed by the PCM, the mentor and ourselves and also the trainee. And we need to date that to show that everybody has read those grades, agreed them, and then signed. So this one piece of paper is used for the foundation profile, for the developmental profile, and the consolidation profile, so that all of the signatures are on one page. Okay, so let's go back. So those are the four pieces of paper that you may need. The support and improvement plan, I wouldn't expect anyone to instigate that at school without having contact with the subject tutor from Roehampton. If you want to have a look at the standards, and just to remind yourself, this gives you the details of all the different standards. Right, okay, something that we'll need doing in each term for the mentors is to do the interim assessment. In order to do this, you would normally add, go to add, and it would normally come up under this template, but because I was already doing some training, I've actually already added it. So I will go in and show you what to do once it's been opened. So this is the foundation interim assessment. Now it's done, it's already done for School Direct, but for provider trainees, this needs to be done on Friday the 18th of November. And what we do is we go down through each of the standards, and we have high, good, minimum, and unsatisfactory as the 4 grades that you can choose. The WD and the INT is for those students who have withdrawn or interrupted, and that's really just for university use, so please don't use those categories. So what you do for each standard is you go through and you pick a grade. Now we're not expecting that students would have goods and highs against all these. It may be for one of the standards that, for example, for standard 3 for subject knowledge, they have excellent subject knowledge and are able to deliver that across the curriculum, and you might give them a good for something like that, or if they're exceptionally good at behaviour management. But otherwise you would judge them as you would against each of the standards, going down going down the page to the bottom. Once you have completed each of the grades, you then need to go to TS Part 2, and this is the part that covers whether or not they are truly professional, and this is a yes or no answer. If it's a no, then the subject tutor needs to be informed, because that is a real query with whether or not progress has been made. So let's just choose yes. We would hope that at this point everybody would be a yes, and then you need to choose the overall interim grade. Now that would go if you had 4 M's and 4 goods, the trainee would probably be judged as good. If you had 5 M's and 4 goods, the trainee would be judged overall as an M. Okay, so that's really a sort of a gut feeling, but you can go with, if there's more of one, then that's the one that you go with. Okay, so you then go down to the bottom of the page and submit the record, and it will save as per normal. Once you've saved it, you then go out of the record and back to the main screen. Now, the other main assessment that is carried out in each of the terms, whether that's the foundation, the developmental, or the consolidation, is the final end of term profile. This is completed by the mentor with information from the trainee, and for the autumn term, the foundation profile is the one that's completed. For the spring term, the developmental profile is completed, and for the consolidation profile, that's the summer term. So we would click on the foundation profile and go to add. We would link the trainee to the school, and obviously if it's the developmental school, then you would need to pick which one of the schools. For the foundation, there is only one school there, so you do need to make sure that you've picked the correct school. Then for each of the standards, the trainee needs to be judged. So we would need the mentor name, how many days the trainee has been absent, and if they're absent for an interview, then that doesn't count as a day's absence, but if they're absent because they're ill, then that would count. If they're at college, that does not count as a day's absent, or if they're in a PS hub, that also doesn't count. It's only days where they should be in school. TS part 2, again, is the yes, no. It needs to be yes, hopefully, that they have met all the professional standing. The teaching standards here just gives you an overview of what those different standards are and what they entail. And then for each standard, you have the option to tick if there have been inadequate opportunities to demonstrate this. So it's not where they have been unable to because of their own lack of progress, but it's where they haven't actually had the opportunity to meet that target because something hasn't arisen in the school. So the mentor would then make notes of the summary of progress that has been made, evidence from all sorts of areas in their teaching, their attitude, their behaviour, the teaching file, etc. If in the summary here evidence is put down, we do need to have some examples. So it would be great to be able to link some of those to lesson observations. The suggested targets for the developmental phase, as we have to with children, we have to with our trainees give them SMART targets. So it can't just be that they use more behaviour management strategies. We need to try and make sure that the strategies are SMART, focused and time related. The trainee then gives a few comments about that standard and any evidence that they feel that they can add to that. That happens for each of the standards. So you go down the page, right through all of the standards, and when you get to the bottom of the page, you are then given the boxes with all of the standards, so you can put the grade in. And here you may well find that some of the grades that were minimum may have moved to good, which would be good for the first foundation placement. Obviously then when they go into the developmental, we would like to be able to see that they are making progress by moving up from minimum to good and from good to high. Once all of the grades have been completed and you go down to the bottom of the page, you've got the yes, no for whether TS part 2 has been completed to a professional level, and then you have an overall grade, which would be high, good, minimum or unsatisfactory, and that would relate to how many of each of these grades they had. If they've only got one high, they cannot be overall as a high grade. If they've only got one good, they can't be a good. If they've got mainly M's, then we would expect them to be passed with an overall grade of M. If there are any additional comments that the mentor would like to make, they can go in to that place there. And then if anyone wants to attach something to this, for example, the signature page that I talked about previously, then when the form is submitted, you need to go back to the main screen. You need to go into the aspect heading, and where you've got the foundation profile, you would then go to upload the file in the actions column over here. To get to the signature page, as I said previously, you need to go into the Documents tab and download the profile summary sheet, which you can see there. If you have any questions, then obviously contact us at Roehampton. Okay, thank you very much.